dans le climat, on a vraiment fait le maximum pour que cette compétition soit bonne. Et j'espère, je suis sûr qu'elle le sera.
Je m'appelle Jean-Philippe Despointiers, je suis Musher Pro.
My name is Mel Andrews and I'm from Andover in the United Kingdom and I'm a sled dog musher out here in Norway.
My name is Jo Are Brennodden and I'm 35 years old. I'm going to participate in the Grand Odyssée this year.
I'm Barbara Inauen. I'm living in Norway and I'm the wife from Emily Inauen.
I'm Emily Inauen. We are here in my workshop, Sled workshop in Norway, Grimsbo. We all can crash. It's not a matter of being a rookie or not.
This is Norway, a Scandinavian country that crosses the northern Arctic Circle. Temperatures of minus 30 degrees Celsius and snow 6 months of the year. This is where Jean-Philippe Pontier of France settled a year ago with his partner and their 17 dogs. He trains all year round, 14 hours a day, dreaming of being on the podium at one of the greatest sled dog races in the world, the Grande Odyssée Savoie Mont Blanc.
Bon, il faut être vraiment gentil avec eux, mais des fois il faut être aussi un petit peu dur, on va dire, pour qu'ils respectent un peu ce que tu leur demandes et ça fait partie de l'éducation, quoi. C'est moi le boss.
Là, je vais mettre des jeunes chiens en tête, des chiens qui n'ont pas forcément de l'expérience de l'acquis. Comme on est encore en préparation d'entraînement, c'est d'essayer d'optimiser des nouveaux chiens, de bien les régler. C'est toute une préparation pour la Grande Odyssée, quoi. Là, c'est des courses plus de fond et avec moins de vitesse. Donc les chiens, il faut qu'ils aient un fond et beaucoup de kilomètres.
On a pipink, oi, oi, oi.
Oh, Yako. Lui, il est toujours partant, lui. C'est un chien fabuleux.
C'est des chiens qui ont envie de courir, quoi. À la base, quoi. C'est pas non plus des robots, hein, donc il y a à penser beaucoup de choses, quoi. Hydratation, leur donner une petite barre de céréales pour donner un petit peu de power, comme des sportifs de haut niveau, hein.
Je mets de la graisse à traire, tout simplement. Comme on n'est pas loin du but au niveau préparation des chiens. Pas de bonnes pattes, pas de bons chiens, pas de bonnes courses.
2 years ago, Jean-Philippe became a professional musher, which is the name given to sled drivers. During a race, every detail is crucial. In training, race conditions are replicated as closely as possible, taking place at night with a headlamp as the only source of light. His partner Stephanie helps him feed his passion. She's a handler, taking care of the dog's food, physical preparation and well-being. It's a demanding daily job.
Depuis décembre, là, je me suis mis un peu en pression quand même. J'ai envisagé de continuer à progresser et d'aller au plus haut que je puisse aller, quoi.
The second competitor didn't have to travel in order to train. At Juara's, mushing is a family affair. His dad is a former sled dog champion. He's created a rehabilitation center where Juara lives and works as a therapist. The institute has a kennel of 80 dogs.
We make the world a better place now. We try to help people with serious problems with criminality and drugs and all things that are coming as a result of that. We use the dogs in the treatment of clients or pupils that come here, and one of my jobs is to teach people how to run dogs and get the feeling that they can actually do something. A lot of people come here and they're messed up with everything they've done in their lives, and they just need to have some success stories.
Juara is passionate about his job, which he sees as a mission. He's available night and day for the patients at the center who are like family to him.
It's me and my dogs, which is my biggest hobby and probably the main thing that I think about in my personal life is dogs. But when I go to Finnmarksløpet, the whole Frankmotunet, this institution is part of it. They come along and help out during the whole race, and we plan it together with people, pupils and colleagues who help me out to pack things and get organized and everything. But when it's the Grand Odyssée, I just go by myself and I pick my own handlers, I do everything, and it's sort of a free space for me, I guess. I don't know really how to explain it, but it's been a very good weeks the last 2 years.
Juara has already finished the race twice. He remembers its difficulties well.
On a scale from 1 to 10, I would say something like 7 or 8. Yeah. I mean, you run around in the mountains there and really steep, crazy slopes, although probably the best slopes in the world, but they're steep and they're tough and everything. But I'm used to flatlands in Norway, so it's. But I run around there in the steep hills and the really heavy curves with my heart up here. I was looking like this, hanging on the side of the sled last year, and I was looking down, I don't know, 100, 200 meters straight down, and I thought, if I keep on doing this for 20 years, then I probably will end up down there. But then again, I made a mistake and I ended up hanging after the sled, so I just go down there this year and don't make those kind of mistakes, I guess.
In order to drive a sled on the steep alpine slopes, experience is essential. Experience. Mel Andrews doesn't have much. She's a rookie, a musher who's entering the race for the first time. Mel and her partner Nigel left all they had in England to settle in Norway. She has 25 Siberian Huskies and a real thirst for competition and success.
I chose to do the Grand Odyssey as the bigger race because it seemed logical to go down all the way down to France and do the longer race. There's lots of reputation for the race being very difficult, very technical. I'm not too worried about being the youngest because I'm here to get lots of experience and progress my career. I think when I get there I will probably get quite nervous. I definitely made progress a lot more when I came out to Norway. Obviously the snow season is massive compared to that of England or even Scotland. And that enabled me to train the dogs on the sleds 100, 120 kilometres per day. The hardest decision was to leave my family and friends, that they wanted me to be doing something that was important for myself. It's definitely a lifestyle more than a sport. There's a lot of competition, but you're living with your dogs 24/7, and so the dogs are always somewhere on your mind, and it takes up a lot of time and a lot of thought. Heidi's wanting attention. She keeps looking up at me going, "Mommy, come and get her." In Great Britain, Siberians are the majority of the sled dog community. The Siberians have a really good natural instinct of holding a little bit in reserve, and that's possibly a reason that sometimes they're a little bit slower. I want to be a musher that finishes and succeeds rather than sort of coming out and trying and maybe not doing as well as I hope to do. So I put a lot of work in with training the dogs to try and do as best as I can and the dogs possibly can.
Competition and success are common in Emile Inowen's life. A former professional extreme skier, Emile discovered sled dogs 10 years ago. He won the previous Grand Odyssée race and has only one goal for this year, to win it again.
We try to tune the dogs a little in the training and everything, but not too much changing, and just I try to continue in our Barbara's and my racing plan and breeding plan with the dogs, and then we see how it turns out.
He and his wife Barbara, one of the best female competitors in the sport, manage their 40 Alaskan Huskies, a cross between Huskies and hunting dogs often used for racing.
These 3 dogs are actually our puppies from this year. They are quite big and wild, but they are puppies, still puppies. They're probably gonna run next year, but not this year. I can prepare the dogs for a next race for Emile.
We try to win, but everybody should try to win, and that's the goal.
J'aimerais pas être à la place d'Inowen là, parce que c'est génial ce qu'il a fait, il a gagné, mais il doit avoir une pression énorme parce que son titre, il va essayer de le défendre quoi.
Other champions say sometimes the second win is more difficult than the first one. I don't know if it's true, I will see. Of course we try to win, but it's a very long way.
I have a 4th and a 5th place now, and it was going down, so I have to change it, so it has to be at least number 3 this year, but probably I will win it.
There's some really excellent Siberian teams, purebred teams in the Grand Odyssey this year. They're going to be real tough competition, even for very well-trained Siberians. I really want to finish every stage with a reasonable time.
Quand on fait une compétition, on n'y va pas pour faire de la figuration. Hein. C'est comme quand je commence une partie d'échecs, j'ai aimé la gagner. Quoi.
That's life. We just live for this training and racing thing, and everything we do because we focus also on this sport. It would be wrong if I would say no.
Sur la Grande Odyssée, c'est un chronomètre quoi. Tac, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go. Go. Go.
Mel and her partner are the first to arrive, after driving 3 days from Norway to Haute-Savoie in France. On home ground, Jean-Philippe and Stéphanie take extreme care while feeding the dogs that will run tonight during the first stage. Juara is particularly pleased to be here. He almost had to cancel before leaving Norway because one of his assistants decided not to come at the very last minute. He hired this young handler from Oslo without meeting her beforehand. Barbara and Emile arrive with their eldest daughter, who will be part of the handler's crew during the race. The veterinary team check on the kennels as soon as the contestants arrive. They have the right to remove any dog judged not to be fit enough for the race.
Alors en fait là on est en train de faire un examen clinique du chien pour vérifier que tout va bien avant le départ. Donc on vérifie leur développement musculaire, qu'il n'y a pas de douleur au niveau des articulations, qu'il n'y a pas de plaie au niveau des coussinets qui sont des zones qui sont quand même très affectées sur, les plus souvent affectées sur les chiens de traîneau. Et on vérifie bien entendu le cœur pour vérifier que tout va bien du côté cardio-respiratoire.
If that happens, the musher has to reorganize and retrain his team, as each of the 8 or 10 dogs has its own place and role. The vets monitor the dogs during the entire race, and every day each contestant has to declare which dogs have been chosen for the next stage.
It's okay. Good luck. Have a nice race.
Pour le moment, moi j'ai fait le tour là de 3 attelages. Et c'est vrai que rien qu'en écoutant la fréquence cardiaque des chiens, en observant un peu leur développement musculaire, leur fréquence respiratoire, on peut déjà avoir une idée de l'état d'entraînement physique du chien et de son état de préparation. C'est vrai que ceux d'Emile, jusqu'à maintenant, paraissent, en tout cas sur un plan physique, les mieux préparés à faire l'effort qui va leur être demandé d'être fourni sur la Grande Odyssée Savoie Mont Blanc.
Bah là j'ai vu celui de Radek là, qui semblait bien au point. Bien pour la course.
Radek Havda from the Czech Republic came second in the last race. He's been training hard for the past year in order to beat Emile this time. His dogs are ecstatic. These athletes know only one speed, fast forward, and they enjoy it. The race begins on the evening they arrive in the middle of the famous Avoriaz ski resort in a Tour de France type atmosphere. This is the beginning of 10 days of hard work, suffering and extreme tiredness for the contestants.
Who are the leaders in the dogs? Thank you.
The conditions are really bad. The conditions that it's too hot for the dogs. The snow's appallingly bad. There's ice. These are conditions that experienced mushers may cope with, but Mel's got a lot to cope with. So yeah, I'm worried.
The young leaders are really shell-shocked by the noise and lights at the start. They were, whoa, this is really scary.
3, 2, 1, go! Man on cruise!
Mel is worried to discover the weather conditions are not good. Temperatures are close to 15 degrees Celsius, while the dogs are used to running at -30.
Actually, the crowds and the lights and the noise was making me nervous. So they probably picked up on that, so that's probably my fault in all fairness.
Pas d'applaudissements s'il vous plaît, pas de cris, laissez partir Mel. Voilà, il faut que les chiens s'habituent.
From now on, their daily rhythm will switch between crazy cheering crowds at the start and finish lines and loneliness in the middle. But contestants are never totally alone. At the race control center, marshals follow the position of each musher, each of whom is equipped with a GPS. They have to be very cautious at every stage as risks are numerous. Whether it's an equipment breakdown or a simple wrong direction, the mountain conditions mean that even a small issue can become a lethal problem. Immediate rescue is therefore needed.
Pour la France, Jean-Philippe Chrétien. Le sort numéro 6, Jean-Philippe.
Je suis super content de mes chiens. Il y avait deux chiens de 2 ans et demi en tête qui apprennent le boulot. J'ai osé les mettre aujourd'hui en tête avec un petit peu de doute, mais pas fantastique quoi. Une direction 2 mètres à droite. Enfin, je veux dire, j'ai vraiment pris mon pied et puis je crois que des fois plus c'est technique. Et
Merci.
Avec plaisir.
I was asking for help and you passed. Good that you stop and help. I take care for markers and stop and you have not time to help.
Bon, il ira là. C'est Émile, c'est normal.
Already at the first stage, concerns are raised about Mel. She's yet to arrive almost an hour after all the others.
But don't be too disappointed.
No.
But you have to
Keep going.
Keep going.
Yeah, keep going.
Smiling.
It's a long way to learn the things you have to learn to be a great musher. I mean, you don't become Robert Solly in one day. So.
Well, no.
It's in 9, but
Here she comes. Yeah.
Yeah, she's there.
Here she is.
I decided that I'd stop them every 15 minutes and rub their bellies with snow and give them a couple of minutes to cool down, and that seemed to help a lot with them.
That's good. That's a good option.
You did the right thing.
I feel very, very welcomed by all the mushers that I've spoken to. They've been phenomenally supportive and friendly and helpful. I don't feel like an outsider and I don't feel like I have to prove something. Everybody seems to want everybody else to succeed, and I think that's a real family, community, knit kind of group, and it's really, really great to feel a part of that.
Nimi. Oh, quelle comédienne. Nimi, j'ai pas fini. Ça, c'est le meilleur moment, le moment des soins, j'aime bien. On regarde si tout va bien, on peut les faire geler, on s'occupe d'eux.
Job of a handler. Well, picking up poo, I suppose, is one of the main things. No, seriously, the job of the handler is really, really important, particularly in a race like this. Looking after the dogs is priority number 1. It's the handler's job to make sure that they're all prepared. It's the handler's job to make sure they're all fed and watered, that their feet are tended to, that if there's any massage required, any stretching, all of that is down to the handler. The other important job for the handler, I suppose, is to look after the musher, making sure the musher's got everything he needs or she needs, food particularly. It's like the dogs, you know, the mushers have got to eat, and if the mushers don't eat, then there's a problem. Just doing everything that has to go on behind the scenes, the musher gets all the attention, but often a good handler will make the difference between success and failure, I think.
Weather conditions are getting worse, temperatures are exceptionally high for January, and snow conditions particularly bad. Concerned about their dog's health, the mushers, led by Emile, ask the race organisers for guarantees. Before departing for the next stage, the track is checked for safety.
We cannot run dogs on ice like this. On ice, it's 2 seconds sometimes and the dog is injured. And yeah, it's limit. And if I run down the road with my bicycle and risk my life, it's my problem. But I think we talk about dog care. The highest priority. It's nobody's fault that we have these conditions, so we have to find solutions.
I was shit scared this morning when I saw all the glare ice that I was going to start on, and we spoke a lot.
Yeah, I was worried because he was so worried.
Il y a eu des problèmes de glace au niveau des départs, donc ils ont décalé le départ de quelques centaines de mètres pour sécuriser les chiens.
En permanence tout au long
Let him go, Phil, go. Let him go, Phil, go.
Go! Go!
He was pulling so hard at the start line, so his harness broke. And then I didn't have an extra, so just had to take it out of the team. Unfortunately, it was my strongest dog with the weakest harness, so.
Nobody knows where the train is.
I was going very slowly because it was for every step the dogs take, they stomp through the snow, and I don't like going fast in that kind of conditions.
Track conditions remain bad. To avoid injuries, contestants are forced to slow down due to soft snow, ice and lack of visibility. Speed limitations combined with the length of the stages force the contestants to finish in the middle of the night.
No, no, no!
Ouais, Anthony, c'est... Peut-être elle veut continuer. Donne-moi le feu vert, je la laisse passer. Les chiens, on les roquait là.
Mel is too far behind the other mushers, and the race marshals want to force her to stop.
On a peut-être, enfin à titre personnel, j'ai peut-être fait une petite erreur qui est de ne pas regarder dans son CV ce qu'elle avait donné sur les courses auxquelles elle avait participé, parce que force est de reconnaître qu'on serait rendu compte qu'elle avait abandonné ses courses relativement tôt. C'est une fille qui est vraiment charmante, qui est pleine de volonté et de bonne volonté, qui a un très bon mental, un très bon moral aussi, mais l'attelage n'a pas de niveau, quoi. Je veux dire, clairement, il lui manque des leaders, ça me semble une évidence.
But she doesn't want to give up. Her aim is to finish the stage no matter what.
Preparation for this race that needs to be very different than what I've done. I've trained the dogs for a long distance race, and I think I realised very, very quickly that this is much more of a sprint race every day for 12 days rather than a long distance race.
I think the toughness of the race is something that we've been concerned about. And without doubt, some of the hills, some of the turns, some of the trails, some of the conditions are really, really hard, which is why this attracts some of the best mushers in the world, and why inexperienced mushers like Mel are going to find it tougher.
And I put the snow hook in, and the sled obviously it goes and goes and then stops rapidly, and I crash my knee into the stanchion.
Ok, donc en fait elle s'est arrêtée violemment, elle a mis l'ancre, elle s'est arrêtée violemment et son genou est venu percuter le montant du traîneau. D'accord. Qui ont des montants en aluminium.
I didn't feel that I was going to be strong enough to do enough work pushing the sled and running the sled. If it was nice and cool, I could have just sat back and let the dogs do the work, rested until we got to the top. But in 10, 12, 14 degrees, I have to do enough work that the dogs can have some rest as well. I would definitely love to come back to the Grande Odyssée again. It's awesome races.
Mel reaches the limits of her strength and courage at the 4th stage. She decides to quit the race. She knows the remaining stages during the 2nd week will be even harder and doesn't want to put herself or her dogs at risk.
Dans le rouge, il est sur les 2 pistes.
Some of the teams are just top-notch, aren't they? I mean, world-class teams, world-class dogs, world-class drivers. I think the Mushers have been fantastic. They've been really good with Mel.
So I'm going to be doing a lot of different preparation, and if I feel that I can get the dogs and myself to the position that we can come back and actually do well, then yeah, I would love to come back next year.
The race is on again, easily led by Emil in the yellow jersey, with Radek close behind. These experienced and well-trained mushers are coping best with the bad weather conditions.
Told us today it's going to be the hardest climb through the whole race, and it's going to be 10 degrees plus. So, but I think I will just stop on top and give the dogs a little bit of water.
It was pretty difficult. Sometimes it was very hard, good, like it should be. And then there was a lot of holes, very much of holes, and with water and soft snow. And it's the most difficult for the dogs.
Je veux pas trop me faire décrocher et puis je vais essayer de me maintenir par rapport à ceux qui sont derrière, quoi. C'est toujours une pression de devant et une pression de derrière, il faut tout surveiller, quoi.
2, 3, 2 ou 3 places, la Bouillonique est un rapide, il est là d'un élément, c'est qu'il en manque les
Day 5 of the race. Bad weather conditions and marking issues make the track difficult to follow. Emile, Barbara, Jean-Philippe and Joara are in one of the groups that gets lost.
We train months for this race, and then we have 4 days, and it's just a mess. I'm very willing to find some excuses, but I don't know. We don't drive any more stages if we can't check them before. It's what the hell. If it's not good, we don't go. Ja da, Åge!
most of the mushers arrive several hours behind schedule. Tiredness, lack of snow and organizational issues are pushing the mushers' patience to the limit.
Émile est un garçon qui est très physique, qui va très vite, qui demande à son attelage d'aller très vite. À un moment donné, la course, c'est aussi parfois savoir ralentir un petit peu, même si c'est pas forcément simple quand on a des chiens rapides. C'est aussi lever le nez du traîneau, prendre le temps de regarder. Quand il y a du brouillard, on ne va pas forcément à la vitesse maximum, on n'est pas obligé de pousser ses chiens.
But for Emile and Barbara, it's too much. The decision is made.
We not continue the race. In fact, we are not willing to run on conditions with our dogs. This kind of conditions.
It's not the time and not the weather condition to drive dogs now here.
And if we come to a point that it's too dangerous for rookies, we all can crash. It's not a matter of being a rookie or not. The most important thing is that we do this sport very proper. I think there is no musher in the world who would like to wish more to win a second time in a row. It would be the first musher to win 2 times and in row. So it's one of my hardest decisions overall. So it's of course not like this.
There's 1 week of the race remaining. Since Emile's departure, Joara has moved up to 6th position and Jean-Philippe is in 4th, only 1 place away from his goal. Radek is the new leader. Before a crowd of thousands positioned all along the track, mushers and their dogs start the last 500 kilometers of the race.
The first week where it was very low on snow, it was shitty conditions actually. Now we are back on track, to put it like that. I mean, all the mushers are happy and we are big happy family once again.
The race is now in another valley and weather conditions change radically, with deep snow and sunshine.
They're just photos after all. I can make you
Joara, c'est un personnage hors du commun, c'est clair. C'est le fanfaron, tout en étant un excellent musher avec un excellent attelage. C'était grand bonheur la nuit dernière que de le voir arriver, parce que il a commencé à m'expliquer qu'il avait pleuré pendant la moitié de l'étape. Je me suis dit, merde, qu'est-ce qui se passe encore? En fait, il avait pleuré de bonheur. Donc, il me dit, voilà, j'ai vécu, ça valait tous les déplacements du monde et tout l'argent du monde que de faire cette étape-là. Donc, voilà, ça, je crois que c'est Joara. C'est à la fois, c'est un compétiteur, mais quelque part, c'est un compétiteur que je qualifierais de romantique.
I don't know if handler is the right word anymore, but it's victory, I think. It's a good thing. We never met before either, so she just volunteered as a handler and we got to know each other and then we got a bit closer and
Lui, s'il se prenait au jeu de la compétition, je pense que c'est un garçon qui ferait vraiment beaucoup, mais c'est un compétiteur tout en restant un poète. C'est vrai que quand on veut aller au top du top, à un moment donné, il faut peut-être pas trop de poésie. Voilà.
The first 3 places are held by Radek, Martin Billy of Czech Republic and Miloš Gonda of Slovakia. The pack is behind them, chasing the $100,000 prize money that the top drivers will share.
On a un trio tchécoslovaque qui a travaillé un plan d'entraînement qui fait que concrètement ils sont imbattables. C'est-à-dire un entraînement qui va plus vers de la distance à 40-60 km avec un petit peu plus de vitesse et de résistance derrière et puis vraiment travailler les chiens de tête à fond. Je pense que là les Mushers auront à apprendre des méthodes d'entraînement des pays de l'Est, ça me semble clair.
V Čechách si myslím, máme dobrý psy a máme dobře nastavený trénink, tudíž si myslím, že proto jsme jakoby v předních pozicích tohle závodu. Asi největší strach mám ze Jeana Jacquesa Pontiera, který mi může vzít 3. příčku na tomhle závodě.
Permanent entre les Mushers, au moins dans le top 5, le top 7, des Mushers qui veulent accéder sur le podium pour tenter dans son pari de la place.
Et Billy, ouais, il arrive en premier.
Certains qui connaissent bien le podium, notamment Radek Avda, le leader actuel, dossard numéro 2, dossard jaune, comme vous l'avez vu tout à l'heure, premier au classement général.
Les Tchèques, quand je les ai vus partir comme des avions, c'était pas possible donc de les raccrocher. Il nous reste encore un petit peu de chemin à faire sur la Maurienne, où il va y avoir des étapes un peu plus longues et qui risquent de correspondre plus au type d'entraînement que j'ai fait en Norvège. À voir après si les concurrents qui sont devant moi vont pouvoir tenir le rythme sur des distances de 80 km. Je suis incertain, mais je garde un espoir pour raccrocher les quelques places qui sont devant moi.
On the stages here in Grand Odyssée, we are allowed to have 10 dogs maximum in the team, minimum 8 dogs, and we are allowed to have a dog pool of 14 dogs, so we can roll them. We can let a few dogs rest every day. If they are too tired, then we put them out.
La sélection des chiens, elle se fait suivant certains critères d'étapes. Si on a des étapes qui sont avec des forts dénivelés, on ne va pas forcément mettre 8 chiens, on va peut-être mettre 10 chiens. Et tout est une stratégie donc de course et d'étape.
The day before the last stage begins, Jean-Philippe Pontier is still fourth, only a few minutes from third place. This last stage is the longest, a 120-kilometer run over 2 days. Mushers take frozen food and blankets with them.
You have a cramp?
Oh, det gjorde jævlig vondt.
Flere steder?
Egentlig det er det derre.
What are you doing now?
Du skal ned.
Ja.
Oh
my god.
Strekker du noe sted nå?
Nei. It doesn't work.
On a encore 120 km de course, tout peut encore changer. Tant qu'on n'est pas arrivé demain sous l'Arche, on ne sait pas ce qui peut se passer sur une course, donc il ne faut pas baisser les bras, il faut que je continue à attaquer bien sûr. Et là aujourd'hui je vais mettre 10 chiens, donc des chiens qui ont été reposés justement exprès pour cette étape. Mes chiens ils ont été chouchoutés, pas possible depuis hier soir par mes handlers qui font un super boulot pendant que moi je suis au lit en train de me reposer. Tout ça c'est tout un ensemble, toute une équipe qui fait une force sur cette course.
Sur la Grande Odyssée, c'est un chronomètre quoi. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go!
All the guys in front have been running extremely fast in downhills and on flats. And Radek had to put a dog in the sled once, and then suddenly you lose. It depends on the stretch, but you can lose up to 15 minutes by doing that. If you have 2 dogs in the sled, you lose half an hour. So you never know, and that's one of the things in this sport, that you can be in such a good lead and then suddenly it all collapses.
Mushers arrive at the camp located at an altitude of 2,000 meters. They camp for a few hours in extremely low temperatures.
The first thing I do is to, as a stage as today, where it's very fast, so I give them a little bit of snack, some meat to start the digestive process, and then I get the dogs attached and I start making food for them and just preparing that as soon as possible. It's very important to make the dogs eat before half an hour or something like that. Well, there is definitely some nice things about the finishing outside the hotel and having handlers taking over the dogs and bringing me new dry clothes and go take a shower and a nice meal and go to a bar or something. But I think this kind of the checkpoint thing or the bivouacs is my favorite. That's where you have to count on yourself and you have to treat the dogs very well, because we are not allowed to leave dogs here. So if we have dogs that are too tired or whatever, then we have to carry them for the next stage inside the sled. I really like this part of the race very much.
Déjà une nuit très courte, on s'est couché environ vers minuit, 1h du matin, le temps de faire des massages à certains chiens, les réhydrater pour qu'ils repartent super en forme pour cette dernière étape.
Radek suffers a major setback. One of his dogs is sick and can't resume the stage. He has to carry him in the sled, and now has only 9 dogs in his team. Radek is overtaken by other competitors. His lead is reducing quickly.
Qui donne ce qu'il peut. Radek Avda semble faiblir sur cette 11e étape.
Il annonce un changement de... Alors, Daniel, là, le speaker, il annonce un changement dans les 4 premiers. T'es pas au courant, non? T'es pas au courant, non? T'as aucune information?
Je vais aller voir. Ça fait 3 heures qu'ils sont partis pour faire 60 km. Ça devrait pas tarder.
Il ne s'est jamais passé sur la Grande Odyssée Savoie Mont Blanc, eh bien, on va dire, un changement aussi brutal que vous allez le vivre tout à l'heure, avec un top 4, effectivement, un top 4 structurellement modifié.
He has to stop to take another dog out of the team. He's hardly making any ground, and his opponents leave him behind.
Et ils vont l'arrêter pour vérifier.
À quel endroit il se trouve?
À la sortie de Bonneval.
C'est mieux pour les chiens.
Hein?
C'est mieux pour les chiens.
Oui, je pense aussi.
Avec nos Saint-Jean, avec 5 minutes 55 d'avance sur le second. Mesdames et messieurs, le Tchèque Radek Avda vient d'abandonner cette 11e étape. La Grande Odyssée Savoie Mont Blanc depuis 5 ans maintenant.
Bylo vidět, že ty psy už jdou dolů s výkonem. Bylo to vidět už v posledních etapách, kdy Miloš a Mates nás jakoby zajížděli. Viděl jsem, že ten výkon jde jakoby dolů, ale bivak proběh v pořádku. I start z bivaku dnešní vypadal dobře, takže jsme drželi nějaký slušný tempo, ale pak psi začali slábnout nebo padat. Nejdřív jeden pes byl unavený, tak jsem ho musel naložit a pak začali další 2 prostě být unavený. Takže jsem se rozhodl, že psi nesmí doplácet na chyby mašera, protože samozřejmě to je chyba mašera už jak v přípravě nebo tady na závodě, že prostě něco udělal špatně. Takže jsem se rozhodl radši skrečovat závod, aby nedopláceli na moje chyby a radši to zabalit.
In Radek's shadow and after 11 stages and a race of nearly 1,000 kilometers, Miloš Konda wins this year's extraordinary edition of the Grande Odyssée Savoie Mont Blanc. Martin Billy is second, confirming the supremacy of the Eastern Europeans' training methods.
Pour le film en 3D, Delphine, qui représente l'équipe de vétérinaires qui sont tout au long des lignes.
In an incredible finish, Jean-Philippe achieves his dream with an amazing 3rd place in one of the greatest dog sled races in the world.
Finalement, Jean-Philippe Pontier termine 3e. C'est un grand plaisir, un grand bonheur pour moi. Je regrette simplement que ça se fasse sur l'abandon de Radek à quelques kilomètres simplement de la ligne d'arrivée finale. Bon, c'est la loi du sport, hein, c'est comme ça. Je veux dire, Radek a fait une erreur de stratégie, il le reconnaît lui-même. Il a payé cher cette erreur. Et puis Jean-Philippe, qui lui n'a pas fait d'erreur, le coiffe sur le poteau. Donc C'est bien pour Jean-Philippe. L'année prochaine, cette fois-ci, il va peut-être gagner.
Shut up! I'm dead tired. I need to sleep, and I'm extremely disappointed that there was not a big ramp where I came in so that I can make a jump and a big Grand Odyssée grab on my sled. But maybe next year? I don't know.
Yeah.